All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to fundamentally, completely reevaluate one of television's absolute most beloved, supposedly dependable characters. So, if you think you know everything about the dynamics of the most famous friend group in sitcom history, well, get ready, because we're about to look at things through a completely different lens.
So, when we try to pinpoint the most controlling person in this iconic group, our minds probably instantly jump to, the jealous tendencies of Ross, or maybe even someone else entirely. But what if one of the most lovable characters was secretly the most dominant person in the room? I'm not talking about the sarcastic Chandler. And no, not Ross. I'm talking about Monica Geller, the friend everyone trusted, the one who always seemed to have everything entirely figured out. But what if all that pristine organization wasn't just organization? What if at its absolute core, it was actually a mechanism for total control? By the end of our time together today, you might just see some of her most famous moments in a totally different way.
And that brings us right to the core thesis of our explainer today, the hidden architect. We are diving deep into this fascinating idea that the friend everyone trusted to hold things together is secretly designing exactly how they all function. And the crazy part, they often don't even realize she's doing it.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the mother hen myth, looking at her surface-level persona. We really need to establish the status quo here and the pop culture image that enthusiasts all know and love.
Now, when people think about Monica, they usually conjure up images of extreme cleanliness, fierce competitiveness, and her undeniable role as the group's unofficial mother. She is literally the ultimate host who makes those legendary Thanksgiving dinners happen. She's the event planner, the cleanliness expert, and the highly dependable friend who essentially keeps everyone's lives from completely falling apart. On the surface, these qualities make her seem incredibly reliable, right? They make her the glue holding the entire group together.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Look at her living space, what we might actually call the museum apartment, and a completely different story starts to emerge. Every single object has a designated, completely non-negotiable place. If someone moves a green ottoman even an inch, she genuinely panics. Or think about her secret, extremely messy closet that she desperately tries to keep hidden from Chandler. That isn't just a funny, quirky character trait. It actually hints at a much deeper anxiety bubbling right beneath the surface.
Which brings us to Section 2, crossing into control, where we go beyond those quirky traits. We're moving deeper down the iceberg now, transitioning from funny quirks straight into the realm of dominance.
I want you to consider a truly fascinating question here. What actually happens when the need for order extends to people? I mean, it's one thing to obsess over exactly where a coffee table book sits, but a whole new dynamic emerges when that obsession starts bleeding into organizing the lives of her friends. What if Monica wasn't just trying to keep her apartment organized? What if she was actively trying to organize everyone around her, whether they asked for it or not?
This brilliantly illustrates the exact moment that the line blurs between being a helpful friend and being a total dictator in the group dynamic. You see, leadership is wanting things done correctly. Control, on the other hand, is wanting things done strictly according to your own very specific definition of correct. Throughout the years, Monica frequently takes charge of situations. She plans the gatherings, she decides the schedules, creates the rules, and frankly, assumes responsibility for massive group decisions. At first glance, this seems super helpful. Somebody has to take charge, right? But imagine experiencing every single major life decision entirely through Monica's perspective. She doesn't just want a good outcome, she demands her outcome.
Just look at her relationship with Chandler, for example. Fans absolutely love them because they represent this healthy, stable couple. But step back and consider just how often Monica directs their future. From literally seizing complete control of the wedding binder to dictating exactly how their finances will be spent. Sure, Chandler willingly participates, but imagine if he had actually pushed back more often. Or look at her extreme competitiveness. Remember that ruthless, frantic ping pong match in Barbados? She absolutely hates losing because she is deeply, fundamentally uncomfortable when things don't go her way. Unexpected guests, last-minute changes, broken schedules, Monica frequently reacts as if chaos itself is a mortal enemy.
So why is chaos the enemy? To understand that, we move into Section 3, the shadow of Ross, and look at the psychological roots. We're shifting our focus to the absolute climax of our analysis, the root cause of all this behavior.
Let's trace how this builds across her timeline, because one of the smartest aspects of this character analysis is how it grounds her adult behavior in her personal history. Let's look at step 1, her childhood. Monica constantly lived in the shadow of Ross.
Her parents routinely praised him while heavily criticizing her. Then, moving to step 2, her adolescence. She spent years feeling completely overlooked, struggling with self-confidence, and just feeling totally powerless. I mean, that kind of upbringing leaves massive scars. For someone who feels utterly powerless during their formative years, step 3, adulthood, basically becomes a lifelong quest to regain personal control. Suddenly, the spotless apartment, the hyper-detailed planning, and the intense desire to manage every single situation, they make complete and total sense.
This introduces a massive paradigm shift. Normally, we associate a controlling person with selfish, malicious manipulation. But Monica's behavior represents something completely different, a profound fear of uncertainty. These behaviors aren't the signs of a villain, not at all. They are the signs of a person desperately trying to protect herself from the unpredictable.
So it all really boils down to this absolutely crucial point. She is controlling because she is scared of losing control. Let's just pause right there and absorb the emotional weight of that for a second. If she's controlling, it isn't born of malice. It's not because she wants power just for the sake of power. It's actually a trauma-informed coping mechanism. And that is a very different and honestly much more sympathetic story.
But here's the thing, she didn't do this in a vacuum. That brings us to section 4, the group's secret complicity and enabling behavior. Let's flip the lens onto the rest of the friend group to reveal their hidden role in all of this.
When you compare Monica to the rest of the group, a really fascinating hidden dynamic emerges. You see, every other character has a very obvious flaw. Ross has his jealousy, Rachel can be incredibly self-centered, Chandler uses humor to deflect emotional vulnerability, Joey is irresponsible, and Phoebe is wildly unpredictable. You can spot these from a mile away. But Monica's flaw? Control. And it's disguised as a group benefit. Her dominance acts as camouflage. When Monica plans Thanksgiving, well, everyone gets to enjoy an amazing meal. When she organizes an event, it succeeds. Because her flaw actively solves their problems, they rarely challenge it. In fact, they completely depend on it. And that dependence is exactly what allows her controlling tendencies to go completely unchecked for years.
And here is the massive twist. What if Monica became the most controlling friend, not because she actively demanded it, but because everyone else just let her? Think about the trap here. Step 1. The group constantly relies on her to host, organize, and fix their problems. Then, step 2. Over time, she simply becomes the default authority figure, not because she staged some grand coup, but because literally nobody else wanted the job. And finally, step 3. Once you are responsible for literally everything, giving up that control becomes practically impossible. So her behavior starts to feel a lot less like domination and way more like the inevitable consequence of carrying the heavy expectations of an entire ecosystem of friends.
We really have to reconcile these contradictions. You see, this theory isn't about proving Monica is secretly a villain. Far from it. It's about recognizing how incredibly complicated human beings are. The very qualities that make someone dependable can sometimes become their greatest weakness. Organization morphs into obsession. Leadership twists into control. Responsibility becomes this crushing pressure. And perfectionism? Well, perfectionism is really just fear in a nice suit. Monica embodies literally all of these contradictions. Her controlling nature comes directly from a place of deep love, profound insecurity, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility rather than manipulation. She is just someone constantly trying to create stability in a world that so often feels dangerously unpredictable. So, we end our explainer today with this thought-provoking question. Who was actually the most controlling friend? Was it Monica? Underneath that perfectly organized apartment and the legendary competitiveness, there's a complex, deeply relatable person who is really just trying to keep everything and everyone together. The more you look at this classic group, the more you realize every single character has a hidden side. It kind of makes you wonder, who is the hidden architect in your own friend group? Well, I hope this explainer has given you a whole new lens to view things through. Thank you so much for joining me today, and hey, keep questioning what you think you know.